welcome everybody. I am Bonnie Bruder and you are watching the Askbonbon Show, real conversations about what matters most, where we bring you the people and the tools to create you. So today we are talking about a very exciting topic, and that is organization. And as a life coach, I can tell you by far and away, the more organized people in life tend to be the more successful. People are always asking me, what is the difference between like a Tony Robbins or a Harvey McKay and all of these celebrity people that you worked for versus just the average person? And I swear the people, anyone that I've seen, professional athletes, successful business people, successful speakers, they have organization down pat. So I'm super excited to introduce you to somebody today who has a business here based in New York that helps people get organized in their life. But I'm even more excited because this is somebody I have known for many years, since she was probably about 6 years old. I met her at a seminar many decades ago. And we just bumped into each other here in New York, and she's been helping me get organized. So Summer Rose from Star Organizers, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bonnie.
Yeah, so tell our viewers just a little bit about how you got into this organization world.
So I started organizing when I was about 6 years old. I always kept my room very tidy, and I would go to my friends' houses and beg them to clean their rooms. And I was always the kid who was allowed over when they were grounded because their parents knew their rooms would get cleaned.
That is fantastic. I was reading your website today, doing some research for the show, and you made me pause because I was always doing that too. I would always go out and clean my dad's workshop and organize, and I thought, wow, and that's a trait that has stayed with me through life. So I'm really glad to see that you have gone on and monetized that and really helped other people get their lives together.
Yeah, I really have always been so passionate about it, and it makes me so happy to be able to do it for so many other people.
Exciting. So how do you start? If you have a client, or perhaps I have a client to refer you that is just completely disorganized, where do you start and what is your process?
So the first thing to do when you begin is to decide what's your goal. So do you want to have a beautiful closet that's color coordinated and that looks really pretty? Do you want to save time, have less stress in your life? Do you want to get rid of a lot of things and donate them? What's your outcome? So I had one client who was a business coach, and he had 80 plus clients weekly. And
wow.
So his schedule was just swamped, and he never knew when his next client call or meeting was going to be. He had notes jotted down on Post-its and scribbled on scratch pieces of paper on his computer, and his emails, they were everywhere. And so what we did was we created a system to put together all of his client appointments in his calendar, synced it with his iPhone, his iPad, and his laptop, and everything was all there anytime he needed it. So he was able to be timely and consistent with his clients and live stress-free from not worrying when his next call was going to be or who it was going to be with.
Fantastic. That is so important. When you think of organization, I always think about, I got to get my house organized or my closet is out of control. But it's great to hear that it spills over into all areas in business too.
Yeah, absolutely. In your home, in your business, in your personal computer, even in your phone.
Wow. So if I am someone, I'm not, because I'm obsessively clean and organized, but if I were somebody that has, one of those closets that's just kind of bulging out, sweaters everywhere, where do you start with somebody like that?
So the first thing to do is take everything out of your closet. Some people try to organize their space while they're inside it, and it just turns into a tornado of a mess in the closet. So you need to take everything out, and I recommend putting it on your bed because then you can't go to sleep until you get your closet done that day.
That's a good tip.
So by taking everything out and then going through the items and not putting anything back into the closet until you've decided what are the items that you're still going to keep.
Okay, fantastic. And then, so is it, I imagine it's kind of a painful process for people if they're kind of holding on to a lot of things. I know you have a good, strong background in coaching as well, but how do you work through that process with people if they don't want to let go of old sweaters or old magazines or whatever the case may be?
So I had one client who, her father had passed away, and she inherited all of his belongings. And she kept all of them, and they weren't valuables. They were things like all of his old clothes that she was never going to wear.
Okay.
And so letting go of all that, she felt like that meant she was letting go of her father. And so it was working through the meaning that she was giving to letting go all of her belongings. And then once she realized that releasing that didn't mean that she needed to release him or any of her great memories with him, then she was able to let go of all of that clutter.
Fantastic.
And really honor him.
I love that. Yeah, because people do make connections to stuff. I know that, that's something I hear with coaching too, when people are holding on to old, even beliefs and memories and so forth, and you have to let them release and reorganize. So great. So what other tips do you have? If a viewer is watching and they, maybe somebody that has a messy car or a messy house, but they're not quite ready to take the next step to have an organizer, what are some tips that you can give them?
One thing I love doing is I have something I call a dump box. And it's a really pretty box the size of a shoebox, and that's where I dump all of my things from my purse when I get home each day. So I'll put my receipts from that day, or any business cards I've collected, or bills, mail, things like that.
Okay.
Because otherwise it's going to be scattered along the kitchen counters, your night table, the floor, the bathroom. It's going to be all over your house.
Yes.
And so I recommend that you put everything into one small box.
Okay.
And then weekly, I do mine on Sundays, and I go through, pay the bills, and file anything that needs to be filed, any receipts, throw away garbage, digitize your business cards, and follow up with whatever needs to be followed up with.
That's a really good point. I always have a litmus test for my own life. If my purse is a disaster, I know I need to slow down.
Yeah.
When I look in and there's receipts and there's lipsticks and there's all this, and I just, okay, time for you to slow down, and I will stop everything and I'll clean my fridge, clean my closet, clean everything, and then go back to that fast pace of life. But it really does make a difference. So I love that tip. What else? What's something else somebody can do?
There are so many different ways to start. So I recommend that they start with clothing.
Okay.
And they decide whether they're going to keep that. I recommend leaving your mementos and photos and journals for last.
Okay.
Because, as we said, memories are the hardest thing to let go of, and mementos are what has the most emotional attachment tied to it.
Okay.
And so starting with clothing is easier, and going through and deciding, do you really love this piece? And if it's something that you wouldn't buy today, get rid of it.
Yes, that's great advice. Great advice. So what is your vision? I mean, you obviously probably have an organized vision of what you want to create for your future with your business. What does that look like?
So I would love to grow Star Organizers to have hundreds of other organizers who also go in and help others transform their homes and really beautify their spaces and save people stress and save people time by getting them organized.
Fantastic. I love that. And so in your own world, is your room still neat and tidy and organized? And
yep, it is.
Fantastic. I feel like it is definitely a trait that most people either have. I mean, it's obviously a learned skill. People can learn it. And they should, because again, when I go back and I look at even just with my clients, the ones that do come organized and they're always on time and they have a proper notebook versus the ones that, are kind of all over, there's a big variance in the success levels. So it is very important to master that skill and to learn how to, keep it all together.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just have this innate skill, and then for some people it's learning the strategies.
Yes.
But for most people, what I've found is that there's some emotional component to it. And so I had one client who I organized every room of her house so beautifully, but she would never let me into her bedroom, which I knew was a disaster.
Okay.
And her closet was a mess, but I knew that there was some underlying reason why she wouldn't allow me in. And it turned out that she had a boyfriend of over a year, and she was using her messy closet and bedroom as an excuse to not allow him into her bedroom.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, so creating a barrier.
Yeah, exactly. So working through her relationship fears and everything around that, then we were finally able to go into her closet and her room and really organize that.
Wow, that's so interesting and fascinating. It must really be interesting for you to have both of those trainings, to have, the organizational skill set, but then to also know the psychology and the NLP and all of that behind it.
Yeah, I think that's what makes Star Organizers unique, is that we really get down to the bottom of the issue and not just clean the house or clean the closet. We really make the emotional changes necessary in order to sustain the organization.
Fabulous. Well, great. Well, how can our viewers learn more about you? If they're watching and they need to get organized, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can check out starorganizers.com.
Okay.
And if they have any questions, they can email me at summer@starorganizers.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for this work that you do.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We will be right back with another incredible New York entrepreneur.